So this practice today is really about asking good questions. How can I create more openness and ease in my body? So we can get started with that straight away. Good morning, hello to you all. So you can just start with this rocking of the spine in this diamond shape with the legs, and just allowing your attention to drop down, to be called inside, to be so intoxicated by the movement, this awareness of what's happening inside. And as you tune into that, this art of asking good questions, something that I do when I'm coaching someone, is that there's an art to asking good questions. So rather than asking things like that start with why am I so tight? Why does this always happen to me? We turn it around and ask good quality open-ended questions. How can I create more openness? So just start to send that question into your body like an echo in a cavern or a cave. How can I create more openness and ease? And as I ask that question, I'm called to just do a little bit of a side movement. So rather than just that linear forward and back, there's a tiny little feeling of maybe as I rock back, I take the crown of the head towards the knee. And that creates a little more opening in the back body, but the answer is going to be completely different to you. Yes, and the kookaburras are laughing at us again, which is always a good sign. Going to be a good day. So how can you create more openness and ease? Maybe it's staying in one place for a moment, or going deeper and just exploring. And so you ask the question and then you listen intently for the answer. How can I create more openness and ease in this moment, in this pose? And then you need to dare to do what you were prompted to do. So let's take that now and swing the legs around. And it's just start to circle the spine around, circle the rib cage around, dip it down. And it may be with the breath, or it may not. So for me, I just feel like a cat on a scratchy pole when I do this sort of movement. There's this supreme opening through the side body, which is what we are going to be focusing on, is this side seam of the body and how we can open that up more and create more openness and space there. But as you continue to ask that question, so I'm rolling with this openness and ease, but you, dear friend, can insert in your desired state. What is it that you want? Let's circle back the other way. How can I create more freedom right now? How can I create more pleasure and joy right now? So whatever your core desired feeling, as Danielle Laporte would put it, just ask how, ask good questions. And then dare to do as you are prompted to do. So let's then tuck the toes and stretch back into downward facing dog. And again, just this open question. So for me, I could go, why are my hamstrings so tight? But this is a really useless question. It doesn't get me anywhere. Instead, I can go, how can I create more openness and ease in my hamstrings right now? And that it doesn't need to be linear, it doesn't need to be fixed, it doesn't need to look any particular way. And that's the beauty of being guided from within. So from here, let's then step forward, walking yourself forward to the front of the mat. And take a halfway lift, inhaling to lift and open through the front of the body, and exhaling to wrap around behind the legs somehow. And a couple more breaths like that, inhaling to lift and open, and exhaling to fold in. So if you ever catch yourself either on the mat or in life with these why questions, why does this always happen to me? Why is this way? You can just clear the slate, like swiping on your phone, and take a spinal roll to come all the way up, extending the arms out and up, bringing the palms to touch overhead, and then leaning over to the right side. So right hand, right hip, and leaning over as if you're reaching for something just beyond you. And again, just plant that question, how? How can I create more openness? How can I experience more freedom here right now? And then with soft knees, just allow that left arm to drip down and circle all the way up. Bring the palms to touch overhead. And then over to the other side. So left hand, left hip, and leaning. So, another pointless why question. Why is this side different to the other? It's part of life. This it just asking good questions will bring a different response, bring a different answer to your inner Google. You're typing into your inner Google, what are you searching for, my friend? What is it? And then again, just this sweet dropping down and circling, rounding to come up. Bring the palms to touch overhead and exhale to fold yourself forward and down. Inhale to lift halfway up. And exhale the right leg back to the back of the mat and dropping that back knee down. You can go ahead and pad underneath the knee if you need to. Inhaling and sweeping the arms up, and we'll side bend here as well. So exhale the right hand onto the right hip and leaning over. If you've got the luxury of a block, you could use that, or if you're okay, 2 fingertips onto the floor. And then going for this question. And for me, the answer comes by I can experience more openness by draping that top arm over, but it might not be that for you. So how can you experience more openness and freedom in this shape? And the poses become this little laboratory. Inhale to stretch the arms up, exhale, interlacing behind the back of the body, reaching the knuckles back. And then rather than reaching the knuckles back, take the knuckles onto the sacrum to encourage, that's below your lower back, more part of the pelvis, and encourage that down and lift upwards. How can I create more openness here? Maybe it's by imagining the crown of the head and the whole spine like warm toffee being lengthened out. And releasing, touching the hands down, you can step yourself back into downward facing dog, and we'll take this rippling dog, so bending the knees and then round through the spine to come forward into a plank. And then bend the knees again and exhale back to downward facing. Straighten the legs, round through the spine to come forward and exhaling back. One more time. Planting that empowering question in. This time, as you come forward into plank, feel like you're hovering or like a hovercraft as you lower. Lift as you lower. Rise up into a Sphinx pose. Lengthening from the sacrum back through all 10 toes and then forward through the heart. And exhaling to lower, touch the forehead onto the earth. This bowing into the frontal lobe. This discernment that we have as humans. Inhale and lift and rise up. And exhaling to lower down. And again, inhale and lift. And even here, though it may feel like your gravity is holding you down, how can I feel more light and free? Last one, coming down. Inhale to lift up. Maybe even bending the knees and lifting the thighs a little more. So imagining being a skydiver variation. And exhaling down. Rise up through your full or a half push-up and back into downward facing dog. And then we'll step both feet forward. Lifting halfway up, lengthen through the spine and exhale to fold in. Again, just this art of asking good questions, inspired questions, inhaling to rise all the way up. And this time as we side bend, actually catch hold of the left wrist with the right hand and start to lean over to the right side. But as you do this, rather than bunching, well, you know, it might be different for you, but for me, I get more of this experience of openness by, like I'm a tree growing towards the light. Staying firmly rooted into the earth, but growing and expanding, especially through this left side body. And then coming up, switching the hands over, again, stay grounded. But it's not just this automatic side bend, but rather this reaching to create the openness. And the ease, well, that might just be the afterglow. Which it totally is. Come on up and release the arms down and just feel that afterglow through the side seams of the body. Room to breathe. Space for new inspired thought, inspired responses, inspired action. Inhaling and sweep the arms all the way up. And exhale, fold yourself forward and down. Lift halfway up with your inhale. And this time taking the left leg back, left knee onto the earth, and then inhaling to take the arms up. So we will be going over to the left side this time. If you've got the luxury of a block or even a water bottle or something that you could use. But as you take the oar hand to the floor, and again, for me, I get more by imagining that top arm being like flexible bamboo, and it actually reaches towards the floor rather than up or out even. this draping down, and that I can experience the deliciousness of that. For me, it is this opening into joy. And inhaling to make your way back up. You can interlace the fingers behind you. Find lift, this buoyancy through the heart, and then take the knuckles onto the sacrum, so encouraging the sacrum down. As the heart, again, it's like this hot air balloon just being lifted and opened. And releasing, hands down onto the earth. We can step back, and again, I know that light's incredible, isn't it? Again, let's ripple through the spine, and if that's not available to you, you could just do this hands and knees variation, which is equally as opening. Sorry for all my groaning. So nice to move. And how can I create this opening? Let's then lay our body down onto the earth. And rising up into cobra, let's tent the fingertips off at the mat, and then rising up. If cobra is okay for you, if it's not, just do a sphinx pose, that's fine. And again, a lot of yoga movements are really quite linear, but more opening for me can be found if I go, more contralateral. So dip the right shoulder in and allow the head to come down, and then dip the left shoulder in and coming up. And if you'd like to, if this is all too weird, no problem. But as I ask the question, how can I create more openness and ease here? I'm just invited to move in weird and wonderful ways. And the invitation to you is to do the same. That the yoga postures, you can come down when you're ready, that the yoga postures are this sublime opportunity to test out new experiences in life as well. This safety of the yoga mat, like a little raft. You can then press back into downward facing and stepping both feet forward, or jumping, or if your answer to how is to do a handstand, that's totally fine too. Lifting halfway up and exhale to fold. Take a spinal roll coming all the way up, extending, expanding. Take the palms, spin them around so they face each other, but your wrists are crossed. And then, so whichever wrist you have in front, take that leg behind and going into another side bend. So squeezing the legs onto each other to anchor, but then again that reaching, growing off to the right side. And then coming on up, and we'll switch straight to the other side. So other wrist in front and other foot behind. Pressing the palms onto each other here as well, like pressing them like you're ripping them away from each other, but then lengthening like a giant has you and is lengthening you to the left side. And it's going all the way down your Adidas stripes, your side seam of the body. You can come back up and forward fold. And perhaps just for a moment drape and nod the head yes. You could let the arms be like these willow tree branches, just rocking from side to side. And start to feel all that lengthening, that space, that openness, that ease that we've created, and that it will be with you for some time. And isn't that wonderful? Okay, you can step the right leg all the way back to the back of the mat. And inhale, this time with the back leg straight, so inhaling and lifting up. As you exhale, you can take that right hand straight back down onto the earth. And again, we're going for this experience of stretching the side gills of the body. So yes, you could be here in perfect angle, but for me, I get more opening by dipping the fingertips down, like I'm trying to dip them into a pool. Like I often say, it's never going to make the cover of a yoga magazine, but it should feel fantastic. All right, then releasing and touching down. Stretch up into your three-legged dog, extending the left leg to the sky. And then take one tiger curl, smoothly rounding as you come forward. Inhale to stretch up and back. So maybe a bit of a curveball here as you flip over towards a fallen triangle pose. So taking the left foot across to the right side of the mat. And then the right arm can come and point the fingers down. So our left leg off to the right, and then right fingers pointing down. Again, that whole side flank of the body. Releasing to touch down. Stretch your left leg up and then stepping forward. Turn the back heel down. How'd you go? Come on up into Virabhadrasana 2. And in Virabhadrasana 2, we'll then move towards a reverse warrior. I might go this way, reverse warrior. Again, from the, just feel that beautiful length that you're creating, and even take the top arm with the bottom hand, and if you can, dangle it down, encourage it down. And then Parshvakonasana, either elbow to the knee or hand to the floor. But again, with that, we're going for that banana shape. So point the fingers down, not closing the chest down. Keep spinning the chest open, but point the fingers down. So your right hand overhead, pointing down. And then circle the arm around. So you could stay here, that would be fine. Or if you wanted to, come into Ardha Chandrasana. And in Ardha Chandra, we're going to again do that. I feel almost naughty. Taking the fingers down towards the floor and even the foot down, just so we can stretch through the connective tissue, the fascia of the body, creating that banana shape and allowing the opening to come. But that's how I feel it. That's how I create it. It's maybe different for you. All right, so we can step from your lunge, step yourself forward and lift through the chest. So you should be back to the front of the mat. I've just been spinning around a little. I do love spinning myself out. Exhale and folding in. Reverse swan dive or a spinal roll. And settling the hands at the heart space. So this side length, side seam of the body, it should as you stretch and open here, it should ripple through the rest of your being. So for me, it's like this sigh of relief. How can I experience even more opening, even more ease? And that's the great thing, that there is no finish line, that we can continue to extend and expand. So let's do the second side. Inhale and sweep the arms up. Exhale to fold. Inhaling, lifting halfway up. And then taking the left leg back to the back of the mat. Inhale all the way up, sweeping the arms overhead. And keep your right arm lifted, left hand down onto the floor. So twisting, revolved Parshvakonasana kind of. And then adding in, well, I don't want to say how to do it. Remember, it's your own question. How can I experience more opening, particularly through the side seam of the body? So for me, it comes by pointing the fingers down, and then even more juiciness by pressing into that left hand. That's when I get cat on a scratchy pole, really going for it with that side body opening in your right side. And then release and touching down. Stretching back into three-legged dog. So remember, we go into this fallen triangle. Exhale, one tiger curl. Inhale, up and back. And then come into your tiger curl and shoot the right foot across to the left of the mat and stretch the top arm over. Again, from strength and power in the right hand to dripping with honey in the top arm. And releasing down, stretch up and back, and step through. We'll come into Virabhadrasana 2. So you have your heel to arch alignment, and in every moment you have that empowered capacity to ask good questions. So even in your reverse warrior, it may look different to you, but for me, I can catch the top arm and really actively draw down. Breathing into those right side gills. And come out into your Parshvakonasana. Again, it could be, if we're just going for that lateral angle, that's fine, but if we're asking different questions, then we get different answers. And maybe your question is, how can I get on the cover of a yoga magazine? But maybe for right now, that doesn't matter. And how can I create more openness and ease? How can I experience blank, insert what you want in, and see what answers come. So then take the left hand onto the left hip and transition forward into Ardha Chandrasana, if that's okay for you. Stretch the top arm up, and then again going for this banana shape. From the top fingertips, the chest is still spinning around, but that top foot it feels like it's pressing down as well. So the fascia through the side of the body opening out, stretching, melting, flossing. From your Ardha Chandrasana, step back, plant the hands, and then actually we will step all the way back. Melt the knees onto the earth. Rest back into child's pose. You could be still here. Or if you want to welcome even more fluidity in, take a few rounds of this rippling dog. And looking for even more nuanced movements. Sending your awareness into the tightness and asking that question like a seed that you are planting. How can I experience more openness and ease? How can I experience more joy, more pleasure, more connection? Just pause in child's pose for a moment. And let the afterglow, the afterthoughts, just start to percolate around. Seriously, it's one of the gifts that we have of being human, is that we have this capacity to inquire, to ask good questions. So do not pass up this opportunity. Let's melt into a pigeon pose. You can, I've slid the left leg forward, but if you wanted to do right, that would be fine. So pigeon pose on one side. And again, just like a pebble thrown into a pond, just ask that question. What is it that you want to bring in? So this is great for intention setting. What do you want? How do you want to feel? And then dare to do as you are prompted to do. What if there was no right or wrong answer? Oh, what a relief. So for me, I can get more opening by twisting or rocking. I hope you're creating your own, blazing your own trail here, your own pathway. And you can peel yourself up. Go ahead and reach back for your back foot. And if you know you have the back bend in you, you're welcome to do that, or even the mermaid variation. Basking on a rock in the sunshine. All right, and then coming forward, and we'll swing that leg around. So just taking a spinal twist. So we're in the Ardha Matsyendrasana, wrapping around. And again, just being inquisitive, this inquiry, what, how, these are all empowering word choices. But avoid why at all costs. All right, so then you can rock yourself forward, and we'll simply switch over to le pigeon on the other side. And again, just this opportunity, every pose, a golden opportunity, not to simply do what you have always done, but to step out of that habituation, that old narrative even. And even giving yourself the freedom that the left and right sides could look different, completely different. So as you type your question into the search bar of your inner Google, just be quiet, be receptive to what comes up. And then there's the classic saying of, if you don't like the answers that you're being given, then ask better questions. Ask better questions. So you can then make your way up, and again, either going into the full back bend here, or if you wanted to, going towards the mermaid position, which I can't really do on that side. Never mind. So from here, I'm just taking a few basking moments. You know it, I'm always basking. And when you're ready, coming around and into this Ardha Matsyendrasana, you can go upper arm to the outside. I'm assuming that you are already a well-established yogi, not necessarily giving too much posture instruction, but you can always check out the yoga pose tutorials on YouTube to have the breakdown of the postures. This was more about creating the desired feeling state, which, by the way, is my yoga anyway, in case you haven't noticed. And then unraveling and releasing down, moving towards Shavasana. So then I'd encourage you to just take a moment to see, we're not actually going to Shavasana, just towards Shavasana. Maybe stretching out and experiencing, hopefully, this freedom, this openness, this ease. But it may be different. It may be so activated and buzzing with energy. Or maybe it's the calmness of a still lake. So since we've had this banana theme, we're going to do that again. So you simply take both your hands and your feet over to one side of the mat and catch hold of the hand, and you may be able to cross the leg over as well. So my hips are still in the center, but the feet and the arms are over to the side. I might turn side on so you can see. So like this, and stretching out for a few moments, but in a relaxed way. So we've been more actively reaching. How can you make this perhaps a little softer, sweeter? That more isn't always better. Harder, stronger isn't always better. these yin postures, the more we can soften into them, the deeper the release, the deeper the opening. How can I unravel that tension and tightness? How can I release that gripping and holding? And when you're ready, come back through center for a moment. And go to the other side. So feet, I go with the most distant leg crossed over, and then holding on to the arm that's reaching over. But it's more passive, softer, sweeter. And perhaps this could be a golden opportunity to use the breath to shed, to surrender. You can then make your way back into center and lay yourself down for Shavasana. Even if it's only a few moments, I get that you need to go and get amongst your day. That if you can, give yourself this golden time, this precious time to stay in Shavasana for a few moments. It's like a zip file. Time stretches. And maybe your Shavasana is as easy as breathing a sigh of relief. Maybe it's taking a little celebratory moment to delight in the opening, to bask in the ease. I am going to leave you here, sweet friends. I wish you great peace. Thank you so much for your practice. Namaste. Namaste.